he said $900 and something. I thought for a moment that was the price of his New York hotel room. I thought, no, that can't be true. It'll be in the thousands. But Mr. Speaker, he's spreading disinformation again. He promised he was going to censor misinformation. Why doesn't he censor himself? Because look at the information coming from the parliamentary budget officer he appointed, which demonstrates that the average Canadian will spend at least $1,500 more in taxes than they get back in rebates. The Liberals call this report a prop. It's from the parliamentary budget officer, the one they appointed. They're called facts. Will he finally listen to them?
Hear, hear.
I feel like I'm explaining a lot today. If you're reading from something like I'm reading right now, it's something. It's a resource. It's a source. If I hold it up like this, it's a prop, and nobody wants to hold up a prop. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can tell you he wasn't reading from the PBO report, because the PBO report has actually decried the fact that it is being misinterpreted deliberately, indeed, by the Conservatives. The reality is, and the report is very clear, 8 out of 10 families in jurisdictions where the price on pollution applies do better with this price on pollution. But what the Leader of the Opposition doesn't want to talk about is the fact that having no plan, as he doesn't, to fight climate change is not going to create jobs for Canadians, not create growth for the economy, and not leave Canadians better off in the coming years.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it's now clear why he wants to censor the internet, Mr. Speaker. He doesn't want Canadians to go and find out which of us is telling the truth. It would be very easy for them. I encourage them to Google a distributional analysis of the federal fuel charge on the 2030 emissions reduction plan. Page 3. If you're out there watching, Google it now. You will see the Prime Minister is deliberately misinforming the House of Commons by stating that Canadians will be better off when clearly the average household will pay more than $1,500 more in taxes than they get back. Would the Prime Minister like me to have one of the pages send this document over so that he can read it?
The Right Honourable Leader of the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Conservative government would still choose, the Conservative opposition still chooses to contend that there is no cost to inaction on it.
Sit down.
I want to remind the honourable members to maybe take direction from their whip. Just look at her or him. I mean, like, and just listen. You're good? Okay, I got your word for it. Good. I'll take their word for it. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party of Canada continues to refuse to understand that you cannot have a plan for the future of the economy if you do not have a plan to fight climate change. They are continuing to
tell that to the forest fires,
mislead Canadians, to confuse the issue, and to harm workers across this country. If Volkswagen chose to come to invest in Canada, if Rio Tinto is making investments in Canada, if ArcelorMittal is investing in Hamilton, these are things that are happening because of the leadership Canadian government, Canadian workers are showing in tackling climate change and building a stronger future.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he does not have an environmental plan. He has a tax plan. Since he brought in the carbon tax, he has not succeeded in reaching a single solitary emissions reduction target. That is because taxing people for something they have no choice but to use does not change the environment, Mr. Speaker. Canadians have to drive. They have to heat their homes. But this Prime Minister chooses to put the burden on the working class, 60% of whom will pay more in taxes than they get back in rebates, instead of putting it on himself. Why doesn't he cancel his hypocritical, high-flying lifestyle and the tax at the same time?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition has a significant task ahead of him in convincing Canadians over the next couple of years that it would be better for them if we didn't fight climate change, if we didn't show leadership on the environment, if we didn't show investments in cleaner technologies, convincing people in St. Thomas that it is a waste of money to be investing in the Volkswagen plant. These are the kinds of things that he's going to have to try and convince Canadians of, and all the fancy rhetoric he tries to use will not fool Canadians. The reality is Canadians know environment and economy go together.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The big task I have ahead is cleaning up the mess that he will leave.
Let's go. He's on fire today.
He wants me to hold a big parade for him because he's made another promise. This is the guy who said he spent billions of dollars on the infrastructure bank, hasn't completed a single project. He said it would only cost $7 billion to build the Trans Mountain Pipeline. It's up to $30 billion, and it's not even built. He said his $89 billion of spending on housing affordability would make things affordable. House prices have doubled. Why is it that the more he spends, the worse things get?
They're here.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know the Conservative instinct is to cut. That's what the Conservative Party has always done. That's what the Conservative government did in years past, whether it was cutting veteran services, cutting initiatives that supported and fought child poverty, cutting housing programs, cutting pensions, cutting everything they could, because that somehow would lead to growth. Well, it didn't, Mr. Speaker. What has led to growth was investing in the middle class and people working hard to join it, cutting taxes for the middle class and raising them on the wealthiest 1%. The Conservatives voted against. Most recently, delivering dental care for low-income Canadian kids. Conservatives voted against. We will continue to be there for Canadians.